talking about how I book cheap flights. I've booked a whole bunch of flights in the last couple of years. I've kind of become the flight booker amongst my friends, and certainly the flight booker in this relationship on this YouTube channel. You guys already know that this channel is all about not having to be loaded to travel the world, so I figure it's time to actually show you how I do this today. It's also super fitting because I just booked flights for less than $300 to Hawaii round trip, which means on our side we're really excited, so let's do some sharing and get into it. Today I'll be talking about what my favorite websites are to use and why. We'll go a little bit in depth about my favorite features on these platforms, and then my 3 main tips to save money on travel. So let's start right off the bat with a tip. The very first thing and the most important thing is that when you're searching for flights, you always want to be searching in incognito mode. You may have heard this, maybe you don't know why, maybe you do, so let's make it quick. Basically, based on the cookies in your browser, flights and hotel prices for that matter can actually increase and will probably increase when you're searching for a route repeatedly. This is because your searches are being logged into the site's algorithm, and they're basically trying to instill panic in you so that you book the flights as fast as possible. But don't worry, you don't have to book the flights as soon as you see them, and you're actually going to see in this video that I always recommend cross-referencing the prices between different sites. So just take your time, save your money, and search in incognito. Okay, now let's talk about Kayak and Google Flights. My favorite thing about both of these websites is the feature where you can put in dates and your origin destination, and then you can browse around the world and see kind of where the best flight deals are. So then of course you also have the option to put in your budget. So in my opinion, this is a really good starting point if you don't know exactly where you want to go or where you want to stay, or say you know the continent or general idea of where you want to go to. Maybe you're thinking, oh, in July I want to go to South America and travel around for 3 weeks. In which case, this is a really great tool so that you can kind of see which airports are the best to fly into that month. Now, I personally don't book through Kayak or Google Flights normally, or if I do, I don't do it right away. This is because personally, I usually do a whole lot of investigating before I whip out my credit card. But yeah, I find this feature to be really great. So what do I actually use to book the flights? I pretty much exclusively use Skyscanner or Momondo. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. Momondo? Let me just search it. Momondo. I think that I'm saying it right. I've been saying it like that for years, so we're just gonna roll with it. Okay, so let's start with our favorite website and our favorite word to pronounce, Momondo. Of course, with booking flights, I always select include nearby airports. If you are flexible, you are at a huge advantage because simply being flexible in what airport you're going to go to or what dates you're gonna travel on can make a world of a difference. So yeah, I always select include nearby airports. In my life, I've done the Toronto to Vancouver flight like a million times, and even though I have family in both places and I'm so familiar with both of the cities, and it's not even supposed to be a fun trip, sometimes it's a business thing or sometimes it's a 3-day visiting family thing, I still always just kind of explore to see, oh, what if I flew into Hamilton or what if I flew into Abbotsford? Sometimes you can save hundreds of dollars, so for me that's worth it. Okay, but let's visualize a more fun trip, because we're all about manifesting our destiny here. So in Momondo, let's for example say that I want to go to Paris, which I do, around June 1st to 8th. The first thing that I'm going to do is select all airports, and then here at the top I can browse through the dates to see if adjusting my flights 1 or 2 days will impact the price. So if you look here, it does. So I'm going to select those dates instead. I honestly love that I can just scroll between those super easily instead of having to like input dates all the time and seeing what's cheaper or more expensive, which can be super time consuming and kind of frustrating. So other than the fact that Momondo always has really great deals and can show you all the price comparisons, and you can basically tailor your flights to what you want, that is my favorite feature. I just really like the visual. I think that it's super easy to read and use. So yeah, I use that all the time. And then Skyscanner, if you've been watching any of these videos, which I actually haven't watched the other videos about this on YouTube, but I'm sure that people talk about it all the time, Skyscanner seems to be the most popular amongst travelers, and there's a reason for it. It is really one of the best, if not the best, website to use for booking cheap flights. It's super user-friendly, pretty much everybody's favorite. So I'm not going to get into it too much, but if you take anything away from this video regarding Skyscanner and my thoughts on it, it's that 1, I highly endorse Skyscanner. I recommend using it every single time you book a flight, and if you don't use it to book for whatever reason, I at least recommend that you use it to cross-reference to make sure that you're getting the best deal, as I find this website to have the best prices. Anyways, the second thing that you can take away on my thoughts about Skyscanner is my favorite feature on it. You guys can obviously tell that I use these websites for their different features. Sometimes I wish that they were all on one website, but I also kind of have fun doing this. But yeah, my favorite feature on Skyscanner here is the whole month feature. So I love this and I use it literally every single time I book anything. So this all really goes to show that being flexible can really save you money on travel, especially if you travel a lot. A couple $100s here and there can really make a difference. So that's kind of sometimes why I'm like, when I feel like I'm spending thousands of dollars for 1 week, when I know that that same thousand can get me through an entire continent for a longer period of time and for more months. Again, we all have different travel plans, but I just had to say that. We also know that there are so many travel apps and it can be so overwhelming and you don't really know which ones are ripping you off. I should have said this at the beginning, I'll put it in the description, but this video is not sponsored. The only app that I have on my phone is Hopper. And again, I don't always necessarily book with this app, but I do love that it's one that I can have on my phone, in which that you can always turn your notifications on to get notified, like when there's a price drop or when there's a suitable deal for you, and then they tell you what they claim is the best time to book. I don't like to flood my phone with apps, but this one I honestly actually find impressive. And again, I can always cross-reference what I find on here with Skyscanner as well, which is honestly what I always do. And then they also have hotel deals and that kind of stuff. But this video is about booking flights, so we can talk about booking hotels in another video. If you guys are so interested, let me know and I can do a video on that as well. Anyways, back to flights, let's continue. Now, if you guys have made it this far, you've gotten to my favorite tip, which is to follow mistake fare and cheap fare websites. I am religiously subscribed to YVR deals. YVR is the Vancouver airport that I'm supposed to be based out of. But Chris Myden, the person who runs it, has other websites for other places in Canada, like Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Hamilton, Kelowna, Abbotsford, Thunder Bay, Winnipeg, and more that I can't think of. Because I'm Canadian and I use his resources religiously, I honestly didn't know the names of the other sites that did this as well, although I knew they existed. So I was doing my research this week. Now I've learned that Airfare Watchdog and Scott's Cheap Flights also do the exact same thing. Anyways, for those who are not familiar, this is basically how it works. You pick your departure airport or airports and then you subscribe to their email newsletters, or you could just make sure to visit their sites frequently. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when an airline fucks up and sells the tickets for a lower rate than intended. I've seen international round trip rates for as low as $50, $60 on these sites. And in these cases, you do generally need to book quickly. What I really love about Chris Myden sites is that he'll say, oh, this is an accidental rate, you might want to book this one quickly or whatever. But if you have the travel bug like I do, you will want to jump on these opportunities as soon as you see them. I also use this type of website, again, in my case, YVR or YYZ deals. In the case where I'm like, okay, this is a real example from a couple of years ago. I was like, I really want to go to Japan this year. So then I browsed the website to see if there are any existing Japan deals. And then as soon as a Tokyo fare popped up, I took it right away. I think that round trip from Vancouver was $400 with all taxes included, like $396 round trip from Vancouver. So yes, that's why I use and trust these websites religiously. So besides using these resources, my 3 main tips for saving money on travel are, number 1, if you can, be flexible in your dates. As you can see, adjusting your travel plans by like a month can make so much of a difference, and even adjusting it by a couple days or even sometimes 1 day can make a difference too. And then the second one is to be flexible in your origin. So again, using Vancouver as an example, I found way cheaper flights out of Abbotsford or even Seattle. And if I can save hundreds to $1,000, I will always consider taking a bus or sharing a ride, because in my opinion, it just makes another trip out of it and it's completely worth it. Again, we're not talking about $10, $20 here, we're talking about $500, $600, $700, you get the idea. And then number 3 is that, especially if you're going on a longer trip, use long layovers as an excuse to see another country or city. Nick and I purposely spent 24 hours in Hong Kong on our way to Cambodia. I think it was 15 hours in Beijing on our way back home to Vancouver from Sydney. We spent a long layover in Bangkok. And there have been so many other times where we've used these long layovers to our advantage. In fact, if I have a really long layover anyway, I try to book these extra long ones, like 10 plus hours, because I find it so much fun, and I honestly don't consider it a burden at all. I actually kind of consider it a blessing. So guys, I really hope that this video helped you realize that just taking some extra time and getting creative can save you a lot of money. As you know, we don't make a ton of money, and we've been so lucky to travel to so many places in the world. So if anyone knows it, it's me that firsthand it can can be done. As always, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at NotLux, and we'll see you in the next